Join us as we dive into the wild world of government auctions and take you behind the scenes to uncover the cool and unique ways bidders from across America are utilizing the items they've won on Municibid, like an ambulance repurposed into a work truck, to a city bus converted into an RV, and so much more. Welcome to the Municibid Podcast. Hey there, folks. Greg Barry here, back at it again with another episode of the Municibid Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Well, summer is here, and that means school is out. And you know what that means here at Municibid? Well, it's the time of year schools are replacing their school bus fleet. And what does that mean for you? Maybe it's time to consider buying a retired school bus. And that's the topic of today's episode. So what happens to retired school buses? Of course, if you're a transit company, school buses make a lot of sense to put back in your fleet. However, many creative people have transformed school buses into food trucks, mobile shops, or converted them to a mobile home, affectionately referred to as skoolies. We talked about converting ambulances to work trucks last week, and they might be a better fit than converting a school bus into one. And that's mostly due to the lack of built-in storage, built-in batteries, air conditioning, along with difficulty in towing trailers. Instead, the benefit of a school bus is all the interior space that you get. Take out the seats and you have a lot of open possibilities to put in kitchen equipment for a food truck or a kitchenette and bed and sofa for an RV. Another benefit is that school buses have a lot of windows which let in a lot of natural light for an inviting atmosphere for your living space or mobile shop, while reducing the need for artificial light, which is especially helpful when you're off the grid. For mobile stores, natural light enhances the display of products, making them more attractive to customers. The windows also allow for better ventilation, especially when it comes to a school bus being used as a food truck or a mobile kitchen. When it comes to using a school bus as an RV, one downside of all the windows is they are typically not well insulated. Some people find it useful to cover many of the windows with wood or metal and replacing the other windows with double-pane glass. Of course, adding some nice curtains or blinds are a nice touch as well. Now, not all school buses come with heat or air conditioning, so it's important that you double check this. If heating is important to you, I'd recommend taking a look at school buses for sale in colder northern states. But if you value air conditioning, then check out retired school buses in the warmer states. When it comes to school buses, well, size matters, folks. They can be as small as a minivan and go up to 35 to 45 feet long for the full-size school buses. And to give you some context, a Class A motorhome ranges from 26 to 45 feet, and they look like a coach bus. A Class B is typically 17 to 19 feet, which is a small camper van. And then a Class C is typically 20 to 30 feet and considerably lighter than a Class A. A full-size school bus is about 35 to 45 feet long, and it's comparable to a Class A motorhome in terms of the size. A smaller school bus is easier to maneuver and takes less space to park. As a food truck, it makes it a lot easier to get into venues, but it also means less space for your kitchen equipment. But as a skoolie, it means RV spots at campsites are cheaper and easier to navigate in and out of. If you have a full-size school bus, of course, you're going to have a lot more space, even enough to turn the back half of the bus into a flatbed to carry a vehicle. And that's exactly what one skoolie enthusiast did with their Scooby-Doo themed bus. And we've included a link to the Mystery Machine in our show notes. So if you have something to tow, in general, school buses don't have a tow hitch. If the ability to tow is important to you, in order to bring your car, boat, or outdoor toys, a school bus probably isn't the best fit for you. While the bus could have the capability to tow, and you can weld on a tow bar and hitch, it's certainly a project. You're better off looking at an ambulance or a fire truck that already has a hitch. Like ambulances, there are generally two types of manufacturers of school bus. The vehicle chassis manufacturer like Ford, Chevrolet, International, Freightliner, and then the school bus body manufacturer. Popular ones are Bluebird, Thomas Built, and IC Bus. Small and mid-sized buses are often Ford and Chevy and have options for gas or diesel. The full-size school buses are usually International or Freightliner, and they commonly have a Cummins engine and are diesels. And if you're new to diesels, you may want to check if the school bus requires a diesel exhaust fluid to reduce emissions. In addition to due diligence you do on any vehicle, here are some things to look for in retired school buses. Check the interior height of the school bus. If you're planning to spend a lot of time inside the bus, you'll be happy to have more headroom. And since school buses were made to transport students, the interior height is commonly about 6 feet, sometimes shorter in the older buses. Remember, the ceiling is curved and is lower along the walls. While you could do a roof extension, if you're making your school bus into a skoolie, you're going to already have enough projects to make it ready for all your camping adventures. Instead, it might be worth taking a little more time to find a more suitable bus. If adding insulation is important for your energy bill and comfort, then a roof extension can be worth it to give you additional interior height for more headroom as well as space for adding insulation. Just keep in mind the total exterior height of your bus so that you know you have enough clearance for the overpasses on the highways. If you're considering a full-size school bus, another factor you'll want to think about is whether you want a rear engine or a front engine. You can tell right away whether the bus has a rear engine or a front engine. The rear engine buses are the buses that you see with the flat front. With rear engine school buses, the noise levels are lower as you're driving as the engine is further away from you. Front engine buses are usually easier to work on because of the access to the engine under a regular hood. The placement of the engine also influences your weight distribution and layout when you plan your customizations. Front engine buses will have a rear access door like the one you used to jump out of when doing emergency drills in school. Rear engine buses don't have this door. Class A motorhomes are typically rear engine and have compartments underneath for water tanks, a generator, and storage. While there may not be built-in storage compartments under a school bus, with a rear engine bus, you'd have the space to add compartments if you wish. So, what are some other things that you may want to consider when buying a school bus? Well, check to see what type of brakes the bus has. For example, air brakes offer significant advantages in terms of power, safety, maintenance, durability, and load handling capabilities. Another thing that you may want to consider for accessibility for yourself and or loading your equipment and supplies is a wheelchair lift or ramp. If you're like me, I still have no idea how school bus drivers exit the bus and then close the door behind them. So one consideration you may want to make is replacing that main door. We've seen people replace the existing folding sliding door we all know with a traditional house front door, and surprisingly, it doesn't look as bad as it might sound. If you owned an RV or a boat, you know how it goes. There's always some issue to take care of. If you're a first-time bus owner, you'll want to consider what it takes to regularly maintain your bus. If you opt for a full-size school bus, you're probably going to go to service centers for buses, semi-trucks, or motorhomes. Your local mechanic most likely will not have the bays to be able to fit your bus, nor the specialized experience for the buses themselves. If you're planning to travel a lot, keep in mind which service centers would be able to work on your type of engine and bus size. As a general rule, bigger is more expensive to maintain. Every bus will have maintenance, but replacing tires on a minivan-sized school bus will be cheaper than replacing tires on a 30-foot plus size school bus. And remember to factor in maintenance costs as you decide which school bus you'd like to purchase. Speaking of purchasing, what do school buses cost? Of course, it really depends on the year, make, and model, along with the condition and mileage. We've seen buses in running condition sell for a couple thousand to tens of thousands of dollars. For example, right now I'm looking on Municibid at a 2012 International 72-person bus with 137,000 miles, and it has a high bid of $4,000 that closes shortly. Now, when it comes to the type of license you may need to drive a school bus, this will be determined by your state and what you're using the school bus for. You may be required to have a CDL and or a passenger, a P, or a school bus, an S endorsement. Typically, though, if you're converting the bus to an RV or any non-school bus use, you do not need to obtain the CDL. You will, however, most likely need to get the title reclassified as a motorhome or RV. For example, in California, if the bus is over 40 feet, a non-commercial Class B license is required. For buses between 26,000 and 40,000 pounds, a non-commercial Class C license is sufficient as long as it's for personal use. In Texas, they require a Class B or Class A non-commercial license if the vehicle exceeds certain weight thresholds. So be sure to check with your individual state. You're also going to want to research the specific insurance requirements for your bus, depending on what you plan to use it for. Insuring a school bus converted into an RV involves reclassifying and registering the vehicle as an RV. Insurance coverage should include liability, comprehensive and collision, personal belongings, and possibly full-timers insurance if you plan to live in the RV full-time. You'll need to provide documentation of the conversion, including receipts and photos, and possibly get an appraisal to establish the vehicle's value. Specialized RV insurers, such as Progressive, Good Sam, and National General, are often better equipped to handle converted vehicles. To operate your school bus as a commercial entity, like a food truck, a mobile retail store, or mobile service, you'll need to register it as a commercial vehicle, obtain relevant business permits, and secure appropriate insurance coverage, including commercial auto, general liability, and specific insurance for your type of business. Compliance with local regulations and safety standards is also crucial to understand. Whichever type of school bus you choose and whatever you plan to use it for, have fun making it your own. A great place to find inspiration for interior design and decor, along with exterior paint, wraps, and graphics, is Pinterest. If you're willing to get your hands dirty and put in a little sweat equity, you can turn a school bus into an awesome food truck, mobile shop, or a skoolie. And that about wraps it up. So if you are working on a skoolie conversion or converting a bus to use in your business, we'd love to hear about it. So make sure you reach out and get in touch, and we can share your story on this podcast. So thank you again for joining me this week, and I wish you all kinds of fun adventures in your new school bus this summer. Thank you for tuning in to the Municibid podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the world of government surplus, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.